Now we move to the motivations for code switching. Of course, code switching has certain motivations, like for what reason do we code switch? Of course, when we say it's something natural, that bilingual speakers or people who are in direct contact with other people speaking different codes, different languages, they are going to exercise code switching because it's the situation that dictates the fact for them to code switch. And sometimes it's something psychological, something cognitive, that we have those expressions in the brain construction of the bilingual or of any speaker. So we speak or we insert those words or those items in our let's say in our speech or in our language. So code switching is something that can be natural. It's something that is psychological more than being it social. But when something psychological is enhanced by something that is social, as we are going to see for the motivations of code switching, of course code switching is going to have different functions. That is, we use it for a given purpose. It does not it won't be something that is 100% natural, but it will be something that is socially let's say socially motivated or socially enhanced. Alright, so we see those functions. Now we have the lexical need. Bilinguals code switch in cases where there is a lexical need. For example, or that is to say, switching is used to compensate for linguistic gaps. Gaps can be momentary or complete. When we do not know, for example, we are speaking and you say مشيت عندهم للبيرو مديت and you still have a lexical gap and you say مديت له the paper. So in this case there is a lexical gap, and when we say lexis, of course we mean vocabulary. So there is a lexical gap in our brain. So we substitute the gap by the word coming from a different language. We speak in our mother tongue, and we substitute, when there is a gap, we substitute it by the word or the lexical item that is coming from a different code. Now, the second function is to show our language skills. Sometimes people deliberately switch back and forth between languages that they control to display their linguistic abilities, of course. Like, it's something very natural and something that is socially enhanced. People, when talking to someone speaking or studying in the English department, I swear God that he or she has to insert you know or okay or oh yeah in their speech in order to show that they are competent in English. Even other language learners such as Turkish language learners or Spanish language learners or any other language learners, they have to show that they know this language and therefore they use it or they switch. They speak Algerian Arabic or this is just an example. They speak the mother tongue and they insert some items coming from the other code in order to show their mastery and their ability and their competence in this language. The third function is coding. Of course, we sometimes switch. We switch in order to code items or code speech of someone directly. That is, we bring the original speech or the original excerpt as it is. For example, let me give you an example. دخلت روطار للكلاسة والبروفة قالت لي get out of here. So in this case, switching from Algerian Arabic to English is or has a particular function, which is a direct quoting. Get out of here, get out of here. So in this case, it is a direct quote of the teacher's speech, and you have switched from one code, which is your Algerian Arabic, to another code by quoting the original speech. Accommodation. Of course, accommodation is also another function of code switching. Like sometimes when we are in a particular context or in a particular society, and we have to show that we have accommodated to the speech of your addressee or your interlocutor, or to the person you are talking to, or to the let's say the society you are living in, and so forth. So you show that you have adopted some of the linguistic norms of the situation or the society that you are living in. So accommodation is used to refer to the state where an addressee adopts the same linguistic choice of the addresser. That is, if you are talking to someone who is speaking, for example, French, you have to accommodate to them. It's like an act of convergence, and we have seen earlier that there are aspects to accommodation, or linguistic accommodation or language accommodation refers to the adjustment of speech. That is, you adjust your speech either by converging or by diverging. And we said that convergence refers to the use of the same code as your addressee or your interlocutor or the group to which you belong. Divergence refers to the use of your particular code or use of a different code from your addressee. This is just between brackets. So for code switching, people code switch or switch codes in order to show accommodation, or in order to accommodate or to adjust their speech, or to converge to their addressees or their interlocutors. Okay? If the addressee refers or refuses to use the language of his interlocutor, he then reinforces divergence, which means that sometimes as there are some people, this is just an example, there are some people who show a very negative attitude towards the use of French in our society. So when they face someone, when they go to an administration or to a given place where French is used there, people are going to switch and to show their Algerian Arabic, or to show that they are Arabophone or Arabized more than being a Francophone. So like that, people are divergent. They code switch in order to diverge, not the same. Or sometimes we go to the same context can apply or can show convergence and divergence for the speakers. That is, you go to the administration, you find someone speaking in French, you have to code switch to French in order to show your accommodation, and you converge to them. That is, I am speaking like you. Okay. However, when you don't want this, that is, I don't speak like you, I accentuate the difference between you and me, and I show some social distancing between you and your addressee. In this case, you are divergent. So convergence is the use of the same linguistic codes, and divergence is to use a different code from your addressees. So we code switch sometimes in order to show or perform accommodation. Now, the last function of code switching is euphemism. And it's something like, I find it very beneficial and very crucial for code switching. Like, it's something true and it's something very logical. Euphemism refers to the fact of using some expressions that are not using code switching in contexts where some expressions are vulgar, or they are taboo, or they are not culturally accepted, or we cannot use them directly in our conversation. Like, for example, تخلص للطواليت. When we say دخلت التواليت, toilet is something or is an item taken from or brought from a different language. And when you say toilet, it's going to be accepted by anyone, and it's not something normal, because it's not something vulgar or something taboo or something that is going to be seen as a divergence, for example, or something that is not culturally accepted. At least when you say حابة نمشي toilet ولا ندخل toilet ولا إذا عندكم toilet or something like that, it's something very normal. But saying toilet in a different language or in different, it's going to be not culturally accepted. Some other words, I don't have concrete examples, but this is the meaning. That is, we use some words that are considered as taboo or vulgar or inappropriate or culturally unacceptable in our culture or in our society or with our addressee and so forth. So euphemism, it is stated that there are some words which are culturally unacceptable in certain situations, in every society, of course. So bilinguals have the advantage of avoiding these words by switching to another language in which these items bear low or at least less vulgarity. So you see that some words, we use some words in order to avoid just this shame or this cultural embarrassment or being seen as vulgar when you talk about them or when you use those items and so forth. So this is one function of code switching. I believe that this is, or code switching as a linguistic phenomenon has some advantages, but it can be, of course, explained linguistically, psychologically and psycholinguistically, as it can be explained socially and socio-linguistically. So here we come to the end of our lecture. If you have any comments or questions, please never hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and see you in other opportunities. Thank you.